We are now in the section devoted to the large scale. Interestingly, large scale is not anymore a matter of dimension, because in this particular section you'll see visualizations of the universe, of the world, of cities, but also of genomic research, of the internet, of entities that either have no size or are very, very small. So large scale today is not anymore dimension, but rather it is complexity. And the work of designers in this particular field is extremely important, because without them, we wouldn't be able to grasp some really complex concepts. There are different ways to visualize New York in this exhibition, from New York Talk Exchange, which is a collaboration of the MIT Media Lab with AT&T, the telephone communications company, that shows all of the wireless communication going in and out of New York at any time during the day. And of course, it does what every New Yorker thinks is the right thing to do. It places New York at the center of the world and shows how everything depends on it. But I would like to take some time to also talk about the $1 Million Block project. It's the work of Laura Kurgan and her team that work out of Columbia University. They took some data that are publicly available from the government that refer to people that are kept in prison and the cost of keeping people in prison. And they apply it to different cities in the United States. And they look at blocks that are called $1 Million blocks, where the government spends more than $1 million a year to either keep some of the inhabitants in prison or to take care of them in between prison terms. Now, of course, you could find these data in the B section of the New York Times, read them, get outraged, and then move on. But if you see this amazing slab of red that shows that there are more than 300 blocks like that in Brooklyn alone, it's an image you will never forget. And this shows the power that designers have to even influence policy. Of course, any kind of reportage is never objective. Designers want to make a point, and they make a point in a way that is visual, elegant, and immediately communicative. Two of the most beautiful examples of visualization in the show that really capture people's imagination are a simulation, actually it's a recording and then it's sped up simulation of all the flights on the territory of the United States by Aaron Koblin and his team, and instead the visualization of how a computer thinks when it's playing chess with itself by Martin Wattenberg. They are amazing because all of a sudden they give us, in a visual way, an ensemble view of some concepts that otherwise would remain very abstract. And they're also aesthetically gorgeous. Ben Fry is a really important designer because he might be one of the first designers that got scientists to really trust him. And you see here how he is able to communicate with both people all over the world and also with other scientists. Next to each other in the show are two works by him. One is a very communicative, divulgative piece that shows how we're different from chimps only because of 9 genes. What you see there is the visualization of a chromosome, all of the letters G, A, T, C listed one after the other, and red dots around only the genes that differentiates us from chimps. So it's immediately evident. And instead, next to it is a work that is completely intended for scientists that shows different degrees of connection amongst protein series. So the same designer, given a different set of data and also given a different audience, is able to communicate and really speak and explain the data in a completely different way. Shadow Monsters is the work of Phil Worthington and one of the big hits in the show for obvious reasons, you'll see. It's a camera that records your image, and the Chinese shadow that you project onto a screen sends it back to a computer. The computer elaborates it by adding strange monster-like features and awful, terrifying sounds, and all of a sudden, you're a monster. Come and see. Designers work with scientists, with informatic engineers, they work with medical engineers, they work with many different people in order to be the interpreters of complexity. And therefore, they make concepts as complicated as the DNA or as chromosomes, and they make them very clear to us in a way that is absolutely efficient and elegant.